This was not a match for the purists, and neither France or especially Paraguay will care one bit. Because in a knockout tie in a World Cup, it is all about getting to the next round, whatever the night may demand. And on a bad tempered evening in Philadelphia, France got through the one thing you always back them to produce a moment of Kylian Mbappe's quality from the penalty spot. It finished 1-0, and Paraguay made it exactly the sort of attritional, foul-strewn, deeply awkward contest they wanted it to be. And for long spells, Gustavo Alfaro's plan came within a whisker of working. So, this episode is really a study in two things: how a low block side sets out to strangle a superior opponent and drag them into a scrap, and how the better team eventually finds that one crack it needs. We will get into France's wide overloads against a compact middle, the substitution that finally broke the game open, the penalty itself, and the very ugly full time scenes that told you everything about how much this one meant to both benches. Deschamps made a single change from the side that took Sweden apart in the previous round, and it was a forced one. Manu Kone coming in for Aurelien Chouameni, who had a groin problem. Otherwise, it was the same France we know, a 4-3-3 with Mike Maignan behind a back four of Digne, Upamecano, Saliba, and Koundé. Rabiot and Kone either side of the base, and a front line of Dembele, Mbappe, Olise, and Barcola carrying almost all of the threat, with Mbappe drifting between the left and the middle as he always does. Alfaro set Paraguay up to suffer and to spoil. He had a compact 4-4-2 that dropped into a mid to low block the moment they lost the ball, with Kubas screening in front of the back line and the two banks of four staying tight and narrow to protect the middle of the pitch. Gomez returned from suspension as one of the three changes, and the entire idea was to make France go around them rather than through them, to concede the wide areas but defend the box in numbers. And to break up any rhythm, France tried to build with fouls that, as it turned out, the referee was extraordinarily reluctant to punish. And that is something that we have not seen in this World Cup at all for some of the other teams. I have to spend a moment on this because it defined the game. Paraguay did not concede a single booking for the vast majority of this match, despite a relentless stream of cynical, rhythm-breaking fouls, and some very experienced observers were scathing about it. There was one former international saying that Paraguay produced every single dark card you can use, and another called the lack of cards astonishing. Well, for me, it was something that I was probably watching back in 1998 when the same two teams had met with similar kind of a gameplay dished out by Paraguay. But whatever you think of it, and plenty did not think much of it, tactically it was coherent. If you are Paraguay and you cannot live with France in a track meet, then slowing the game down to a crawl and killing every transition before it starts and testing the opponent's temperament is a legitimate route to a penalty shootout, which is exactly where Paraguay had taken Germany in the previous round. And it very nearly worked here too, because for the first half an hour, France could not find any tempo at all. Their combinations kept getting stepped on before they could develop, and he could see the irritation building. Mbappe at one point shoved an opponent in frustration. And when a low block side gets under the skin of a favorite like that, they are winning the psychological battle, even while they are losing the position one, and that is more important. The way you beat a compact 4-4-2 that refuses to come out is to stretch it horizontally until a gap appears. And that is exactly what France went about doing. They pushed Koundé and Digne high to give width, which let Olise and Dembele tuck into the half spaces and attack the seams. And the whole right side became a little laboratory of Koundé, Olise, and Dembele trying to manufacture a one against one against a defense that was determined to keep everything in front of it. Kone forced a fine save from Gill early in the second half with a long-range effort, which is often what a packed block invites. The shot from the edge because the middle is sealed off. Olise was again the standout creator in this regard. He now has 5 assists in these finals and is a single assist away from Pele's record for a single tournament. And it was France's persistence in those wide zones rather than any moment of central magic that eventually earned that decisive break. The single most important tactical decision of the night was Deschamps recognizing that his starting front line, for all its quality, was not getting in behind a block that was happy to defend him, and going to fresh legs whose whole game is running at and beyond a backline. Bringing on Desire Doue in particular changed the geometry of the attack because he offered the direct vertical threat to run the last line that France had been lacking. And it pinned Mbappe more centrally to the attack of the box rather than always coming to the ball. It was Doue, within minutes of coming on, who produced the run that finally dragged Paraguay into the foul they could not get away with. The goal came from the one and only time France got a runner cleanly in behind, which is the whole point of that substitution. Doue drove into the box. Diego Gomez went through him rather than the ball, and after a VAR review, the penalty was correctly given. However much Alfaro protested afterwards that it was a dive, which it plainly was not. Mbappe did what Mbappe does, no fuss, cool as you like, straight down the middle of the story, and it was his 7th goal of the tournament to draw him level with Messi at the top of the scoring chart, as well as France's 150th World Cup goal. Paraguay's response to conceding incidentally was another cynical kick on Mbappe that again went unpunished. And that is what summed up the evening for both the teams as well as also the referee. The momentum graph for this one is deliberately flat, and that flatness is the story. Because Paraguay's entire plan was to keep the peaks and troughs as small as possible and turn the match into a war of attrition where nothing much happens and one moment decides it. You can see France slowly building an edge as the half wore on, the small spike where Kone tested Grill, and then the clear jump at the 70th minute for the penalty. What you should also note is the late France surge because once they were ahead, they actually created their best chances of the night, with Gill producing an excellent double save to deny Mbappe a second. And it all boiled over into a melee near the center circle at full time. Well, Mbappe gets the headline and the goal and the milestones, and rightly so. But the two men I would single out are Doue and Gill. Doue because his introduction was the tactical hinge of the match, the runner who changed what France could threaten, and Gill because without a goalkeeping performance of that quality, Paraguay's sparkling job does not stay viable as long as it did. His double save late on keeping the score respectable and the tie technically alive for longer than the balance of play deserved. For Paraguay as a collective, you can be repulsed by the methods and still acknowledge that they took a France side that had scored 13 goals on the way here and restricted them to a single penalty, which is not nothing. So Paraguay goes out having taken Germany to penalties and France to the 70th minute across 2 knockout ties. So for all the noise about their conduct, they leave with a hard-earned reputation as a miserable night out, which is precisely what they were going for. France, meanwhile, are through without ever hitting top gear, and there is a version of this that is a mild concern and a version that is exactly what you want from a tournament. The ability to win ugly on a night when the opponent does everything they can to drag you down to a scrap. They now face Morocco in Boston, and that is a very different kind of test. A side that will actually want the ball and will punish France in transition if they switch off. So Deschamps will know the free-flowing version of his team needs to show up next time. If you like this analysis, and if you feel that this is something that caters to your taste, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with your friends and hype this video up.